April Fools! No. What's up, folks? Happy April Fools, I guess, or whatever. Anyway, I wanted to make this update video for you folks and to know, what's been going on and what's been happening here and everything. It's definitely been a minute, folks. It's been over like 8.5 days now since I last made a video here and everything, and I figured to give you folks an update on what's been going on and how I'm doing currently and everything. I'm overall doing much better than I was before. I'm still not the fullest of myself, I guess, or whatever, but I'm overall generally more happier with myself, I'd say, and overall, I've been doing all right too, and I want to talk to you folks about my next step of plans that I have and everything, and what I plan on doing here, like in the future and everything. So I'm definitely going to get back on my medication, which was Elexapro. Now, previously, before I decided to, quit off and completely drop it, legit cold turkey, just unplug it completely and everything, I had over 15 milligrams of it, and since it's been like over a year now since I've been on the medication and everything, I'm gonna talk to my therapist, which is this weekend before I work, which is, a plus and everything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm planning on going back to 5 milligrams, and then when I adjust up to that, I'm gonna go back up to 10 and just work my way up to 15 or whatever. If nothing really, changes or whatnot, whatever. The only thing that I don't like about Elexapro is that it makes my emotions kind of numb and everything. So I don't get as sad or whatever, but I don't get as happy either. It's a double edged sword, but I feel like I'm at the point in my life where it's either that or mental insane asylum, Arkham Asylum from Batman or some shit. Like, legit here, because I, I don't know what's wrong with me. I guess that's with everyone, folks. But, anyway, so I plan on getting back with my medication, but also, more importantly, I want to talk to you folks about future updates that I plan on doing for this channel here and everything. So things are gonna be back, definitely. We're gonna do some AUs, we're gonna do some reaction videos that I've been meaning to get up towards and everything. I need to do a look over of Mad, or I guess the other album that James Jamie now did, I guess, basically. But I'm gonna do Mad first since that came out first or whatever. It just kind of is what it is. I got requests I need to fill in and still do that I know you folks have been asking me to do, or at least have been asking. And I also have some things I need to complete. I got Mad Father I still need to complete. I need Amnesia, The Dark Descent that I need to get done and whatnot. I still have my newest Dementia music review album that I need to complete and get done. But I'm gonna hold off on that one specifically for a little while, at least not until I can confirm within myself that I'm fully okay or whatever. And the reason I say that, and the only reason I'm pulling off the Dementia music review stuff, at least just for the time being, is that because of, the mental state that I had and whatnot and everything. So it's still halfway done. I got half of it done, and I'm not gonna complete the other half of it or the other parts of it until I can confirm 110% that I know that I'm mainly okay, and I know I'll get there eventually, and that I'll be, alright and fine and everything. But until then, I'm just gonna only hold off on that one just for the time being, and everything. And I do that on purpose for a main reason, mainly because, it's more of a sensitive topic and everything, and it's not really the kind of music you can just upbeat and get a vibe in or whatever, unlike Jamie's music albums with hypo hop and whatnot here. So that's the only main reason holding off and throwing a huge pause on that one. It is unfortunate because I meant for that music project or whatever that I do from time to time of Alzheimer's. I meant to have that done all the way in February, and it's already April at this time. So I'd say at least probably around early summer or whatever when that may come back, but don't take my word for it because it may take longer, and whatnot. Overall, I'm just going to hold off on that one until I can know that I'm better. And once I know that I'm fully better, not just feeling better, but knowing that my mental state is actually okay and that I'm actually fine and everything and not just feeling it, but also knowing it too. That's when I'll continue the other half of that and just add in the rest of the pieces and everything all together and whatnot here. But yeah, so another thing that I want to talk to you folks about more importantly as well here, and this is mainly why I'm making a video specifically on this very day here as well, is that I decided to get myself a big upgrade, and this was all before the incident that I had and everything last week. I've had this for over a month now, and I decided to finally go ahead and do it. I decided to go ahead and upgrade my graphics card, my GPU, if you will. So currently, what I have at the moment here is a 1080, non 1080 Ti or whatever. And I currently have an NVIDIA graphics card that's a 1080 that has 8 gigs of RAM and has DDR4 type of RAM or speed RAM or whatever. But anyway, so I have that currently at the moment. It's definitely not a bad card, it's pretty damn decent. But I decided to mainly upgrade purely because of how I don't want to worry about having to adjust the game settings or whatever. And I also kind of want to be more set for life kind of deal and something that I'm probably going to have for within 10 to 20 years or whatever, if not entering into Ready Player One territory, by that time or whatever. So I got a new graphics card here, folks, and this one's a pretty big beast of a one. It's gonna show up tomorrow and everything, and I'm gonna hook it up and everything. I'm gonna blow up my computer since I've been meaning to do that, because it collects dust or whatever. I call it the digital computer bath or whatever, a bath for PCs basically, where instead of scrubbing with soap to get the dirt off, I use a whatever the hell they'll call. My dad has it or whatever. It's something you can put tires in and add an air compressor. I think that's what it is, an air compressor. Anyway, it has this big ass tank. It has like a generator on top or whatever with a switch, and has like thick a thick tube that's kind of hard to bend on purpose and everything. And it has that clip at the end that you pull down, and you have the tube trigger. I'm not the best with names or whatever, okay? But you push it down as much as you can, then you lock it in, and it keeps it firm in place. And it's basically like an elephant, but blowing out, when you sneeze or something, I guess. Anyway, I'm not the best describer, but nonetheless, I'm going to use that to blow up my computer before putting in my new graphics card, get all of the ickies and dust and everything out so it's all clean and everything. Now, with this new graphics card that I have, this one's a pretty big upgrade, okay? I went from a freaking 2010's Toyota car, yeah, 2010, to a freaking like Lamborghini or some shit, okay? Because this new boy that I added in, this new GPU that's gonna be added in, is gonna have 20 gigs of RAM. Yeah, 20 gigs of VRAM and DDR6 type of RAM as well. So everything's going to be super damn quick than it already is with my current graphics card. and it's also an AMD one instead of Nvidia. I went from green to blue, not green. I went from green to red, folks. Yeah. So I'm probably obviously with this mental note that I had after purchasing this, I figured that I'm probably gonna have to add new drivers for my graphics, new graphics card and everything, and kind of wait for my computer to slowly adjust for a few days. I'm not too entirely sure how it's gonna go out. I don't think it's gonna be anything too drastic, but just to be on the safe side and everything, I'm gonna hold off for a bit and just kind of let my computer kind of ease in. It's basically like human surgery for computers. What I'm doing here, I'm gonna find the right plugins or whatever from my power supply that that this new graphics card's gonna need, and plug it in, and I'm just gonna wait for my computer to adapt and adjust and everything, and I'm probably gonna get whole new drivers here and everything. So basically, I'm gonna wait it off a bit and test everything, making sure the audio's good and everything, and make sure, everything's good to go and everything. And I primarily say this because every time NVIDIA updates or whatever, a new version or whatever of my graphics card or whatever, driver, whatever. Every time it updates or whatever, it always sets back to default. I don't know if this is going to be the same thing with AMD here, but it always sets back to default. And it just annoys me so goddamn much because I'll get on a call with James or Red or whatever, right? Some shit on Discord. And I always have to go over to the settings and adjust to the specific microphone that I'm using and headphones that I use, instead of just default, because in reality, default isn't really anything on my computer because I have everything, plugged in. And I don't think I even have. I think I have default, but I think I either have it at mute or whatever because I also have these speakers here with a subwoofer and some shit. I also have this webcam. It also has its own speaker, audio thing, whatever. But I just automatically have it set to, whichever here. And I always use this specific microphone that I've had for a good minute now here that I use and everything. So anyway, with a new GPU, coming in legit tomorrow after this recording here and everything, I want to, take some time for my computer to be adjusted to this new GPU of a beast and whatnot, and hopefully everything works. I think everything pretty much works. I made sure with the server and everything, as you should with, websites and whoever's selling what or whatever. And it seemed pretty good so far, so I went ahead and got myself one, and I got myself a big upgrade. So I'm gonna basically let my computer adjust to this new setting here, this new GPU and everything over the weekend, and make sure everything's good or whatever, and adapt to it because I think it's gonna take at least a minute or two before fully kicking in. It's just like surgery, as I said before, like with my foot surgery and everything, it definitely takes a minute. And with such a huge leap, going from a 1080, with 8 gigs and DTR4 to legit 20 gigs and, DDR6 and everything, it's definitely a huge freaking leap. Like we're leaping up to a mountain here with this one. But yeah. So anyway, to overall sum this up, and everything here, I'm overall doing much better than I was last week and everything, and I can't believe I didn't say this from the beginning here, but overall, I just want to thank you guys so much, for being patient with me and just, letting me take my time and everything. I know you folks are mainly here for the MLP Horror AUs and more of the horror content and everything, and I'm gonna do that, as much as I can. But I'm also going to, you know, still take my time and just go with the flow of things and everything, And I'm not gonna say when I'll be back still, because I never do, and I never like saying that because when I do say a set time, like if I were to say, "I'll see you folks on next Wednesday or Monday" or some shit, I don't ever like doing that because not only is it set an expectation for you folks, not that there's really an expectation to really begin with, but I kind of feel like it sets more of an expectation to you folks, and it just kind of puts a bit more pressure on me as like a expired time, being like, oh shit, now I need to keep my word and now I need to do that, and that's why, whenever with James or whatever, when he would say, I'm gonna do it tomorrow or this or that, I would always be like at the back of my mind, like, don't do that. Don't say that kind of shit, Not that he can't or whatever, there's not like a contract, but like I, at least to me, ideally don't really like to say that because not only is it set like sort of an expectation and pressure, but also you don't know what can happen either. You know what I mean? And that's primarily based on why I don't really set expiration dates or a time frame of when I'll actually generally be back because anything can happen, and I'll rather have you folks have the expectation of I'll just upload when I upload rather than being he said specifically on this day and he didn't do it, he like that kind of thing. It's not like a huge deal, but that's just kind of the mind frame that I've always personally, went with. And that's mainly why I don't set expiration dates on myself or say it to you folks. I don't ever say I'm going to be back on this set day or next week or whatever because, I don't fully know myself, even if I plan on it, because and even when I do plan on it, like I said, anything can happen, you just never know with this day and age, and I rather have you folks have the mind frame or mindset as an audience that who'll come here eventually and who'll just upload whenever he uploads, rather than have it be like a scheduling show thing, like new episode, like on Cartoon Network or some shit. New episodes this Saturday or at da 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 time, whatever, that kind of deal, But yeah, I'm rambling too goddamn much. Anyway, overall, to sum this all up for the second time that I said now, I'm overall doing better. I'm still not the fullest, but I'm overall much happier than I was before. I'm gonna get on my medication again, hopefully next week and everything, because I want to adapt to that and I want to keep my emotions in check instead of just being like a freaking volcano like that and whatnot. And I do plan on being back soon. I'm not going to say when, but soon, so stay tuned with that if you will. I like I said, I got horror AUs I still need to cover, some of them that are incomplete. I got reactions that I gotta do. I got James' new album that I need to react to. And I've got some good old gameplay that I want to showcase to you folks and just overall play and have fun. And I still have my Dementia music review cover that I'm going to be doing, but I'm gonna hold off on that for a while, like I said. When I know that I'm 110%, not just 100, 110. When I know I reach that extra 110, percent is when then I'll continue the other half of that and then finally upload that. However long that may take, I do not know for sure. It is unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I'll rather take care of myself and look after myself and everything rather than trying to push myself for your guys' sake of content or whatever, and I'm just overall happy and so grateful that you folks have been, waiting for me and have been understanding and very patient for me. and I just couldn't be any happier than that. I'm not gonna upload again for at least another week or for the rest of this week and everything because like I said, with my new graphics card and everything, so I'm gonna test some things when I get it done and everything, make sure everything's good to go, up to date, and let my computer digest digitally, I guess, or whatever, into it or whatever. And if any worst case scenario or something, I can always just switch it back to this current one that I'm using at the moment here and everything, and just kind of, stick with that. If all else, fails or something, I guess. But yeah, overall, that's basically all I have to really say and just yap on and everything. I am doing much better and everything, and I'm overall happy. I've been taking some time away from the computer. I've set myself offline specifically because I just felt like it was something I needed to do and disconnect. And the only reason I said I will be back, and I know I will, is I just kind of just can't help myself. I'm gonna be back whether I personally like it or not because the internet's kind of been my life, my whole thing and everything. And, I just know that even when I'm depressed and sad, I just know that deep down, I'm not going to stay like that forever, and I have been meaning to come back and everything. But since I looked over at my tracking package on eBay that I bought my new graphics card on and saw that it was going to come tomorrow, I figured, all right, let's just go ahead and update you folks on what's going on before I have to update all the drivers and make sure all of the audio's good and everything. It's not going to take like an all day kind of thing, but it is going to take a big moment. I'm going to have to find what clicks in and whatnot and make sure everything's good. And you folks get the drill. I don't know if you folks use PCs or not, but I'm a gamer with a PC and everything, so yeah. Anyway, overall, just thank you folks dearly for, from the bottom of my heart, for just understanding and just, being patient with me. Nothing, it means the world to me more that you folks understand and that you're just overall patient with me and everything. So yeah. So anyway, so with all that said and out of the way, thank you all for watching and just thank you all for just being patient and thank you all for, understanding and just, waiting it out. I'll see you folks sometime next week. That's what I planned, but again, you know, don't expect anything. But that's my intentional goal. So I'll see you folks around then and everything. But as of now, thank you all for watching. If you folks have any requests or suggestions, that you want me to do, I'll go ahead and get around to them, if I can. And lastly, don't forget to turn on, notifications so you folks don't miss out on a future video or post I make in the future. And that you can always be kept up to date with this channel. So yeah, so with all that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all sooner or later. Bye bye, folks.